Okay. This is a call to order of a special meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Today's date is Tuesday, June 21st, and the time is noted as being 6:34 p.m. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Joe Skolovic,
Present.
Michael Macaron,
Present.
John Weldon,
Present.
Bobby Brown,
Present.
Albert Benahan, Erica Castillo, Christine Baptiste Perez, Sybil Allen, Joe Lombard present. And a second.
We have a quorum. Tonight's sole agenda item is discussion and possible action concerning employment performance or evaluation of Michael Testani as a public officer or employee of the Bridgeport Board of Education. It is noted that discussion of this item qualifies for executive session. I'll just ask if anybody wants to do that.
Mr. Chair, can we do the presentation in public? I have no
I'm just,
discussion in executive session, but I think his presentation should be public. So
okay, well, okay,
I got some idea of what we based our decision on.
yeah. But the board has an opportunity to do this in executive session. If somebody wants to make a motion, they can. If not, they won't. Does anybody want to make such a motion? Okay. So, Mr. Testani has prepared a presentation.
Yeah, so in your packets and Ms. Brown, I will make sure if you want a hard copy, I can get it delivered to you. If not, I will send you an electronic copy tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I have the electronic copy that we can send you tonight. I'll have, the only thing that'll be missing from the electronic copy will be some flyers and things that kind of
going on. I never think.
chronicle some of the things that we've done,
Never.
events and things here that I can see.
Let the record. What was that, Ms. Brown?
I know this has nothing to do with the agenda. However, I never get agendas or anything that this body has. I have to find out by a friend of mine who calls me up and tells me the meeting is going on.
Is there a reason why that might happen?
Well, there's
I don't know.
nothing that was distributed for this meeting tonight, except the agenda.
Well, how did all of these people get an agenda?
Oh, no, this I just handed out.
He just handed this booklet out
Okay.
right now.
Who notified everybody that there was a meeting?
I got an email about it.
I told you, I don't do emails.
I understand.
You have to call me. So I am really, I won't use the word.
Rita was out today. She was in the hospital from last.
I don't get them anytime.
I'm sorry.
I don't get them anytime. And I'm disturbed by it. I just want to let the record reflect that I'm disturbed about the notification that I do not get for these meetings. I find them out from a friend of mine who calls me. And that's why I'm late. Now that I've had my piece, you can go on with the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So included in your packet is a copy of the scoring and rating sheet that we all agreed upon. A PowerPoint presentation that I will briefly go through this evening that not obviously because of the size of the district. Things that initiatives and programs throughout the district is just kind of a highlight. And then on the other side of the packet will include just some narrative reflection regarding the areas that are on the scoring rubric, as well as behind some artifacts of events and things that, and projects and such that occurred during the school year that I think are significant. A lot of our community outreach in its office. So to that end, we can put the PowerPoint up.
I speak my mind.
Okay.
So just to show The district did increase its enrollment from the October 1st reporting 2021 till the end of the school year, which is tomorrow, but plus or minus 1 or 2 students who may have. But so we had an increase of a little less than 400 students overall. As you can see, there was a significant change in the number of students who receive services through an IEP. And as you can see, there was a significant increase in the number of English language learners from 10-1 to the end of the school year as well.
And IEP, excuse me, is
Receive special education service.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but that stands for what?
Individualized education plan. As you can see here, our average daily attendance did increase from 2020 to 2021 was an increase, not quite yet at the level we were prior to pandemic beginning. The average daily attendance obviously is impacted for kids who are required to quarantine because of a positive test. So as you can see, it shows significant from here. And last year's numbers were also based on virtual attendance. So which if every child was supposed to attend in person, was mandated, that number would have been lower. You know, briefly here, I just give an overview of my feelings in terms of what I believe all children should have access to stimulating educational environment where they can grow physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. I think that's important to note. And that we have students that have a number of learning styles and specific needs, and it is our responsibility as a public school district to provide all those students with a safe, nurturing educational environment. As I mentioned, this is by no means a comprehensive list, but it just provides a sampling of work associated with our commitment in the district to improving the academic and social emotional growth of our students. Some of the basis and things that I believe that are extremely important as part of our mission here in the Bridgeport Public Schools is to increase family engagement, foster culturally responsive classrooms. We made a huge investment on integrating restorative discipline practices, creating a district plan to increase the racial, ethnic, linguistic diversity of staff across the district, and support a variety of strategic planning initiatives related to promoting a district culture of equity and social consciousness. To that end as well, I've been asked to participate, just trying to give final details. I had an information session this afternoon at 4 p.m., so it's kind of new in terms of what cost will be to the district to participate in a small cohort of superintendents in the state around racial equity and inclusion. So I'm kind of excited to be asked to be a participant in that with 5 other district superintendents in the state. It's the third of that kind that's going to be offered. I think that just shows there's a recognition of the work that's being done here, especially around diversity, equity, inclusion, with the work with Dr. Derek Gay over the last couple of years. One of the main focuses here in evaluation is relationship with the Board of Ed. As I know, it's been a year filled with changes to the Board of Education. We have new members to the board. I believe we've established a positive, productive, professional work relationship. I truly believe that every member of the board is committed and works diligently towards our common goal of providing Bridgeport students with the highest quality educational experience. I've worked extremely hard over the last couple of years to maintain open and transparent communication with the board, make every board member feel welcome and valued. I promptly respond to requests, address concerns of various board members, regularly alert the board to issues of importance or concern. And especially this year, we continued to disseminate information regarding COVID-19, state and local budget, and the ECS grant. We continue to publish the student staff recognitions after each quarter. Provides a newsletter to members of the school community with a video montage of students and staff who have been selected and honored by the school community. Pre-COVID, we did do that in person. I think we found that this has been an effective tool during the COVID pandemic, recognized. And again, I want to just thank the Board of Education for its work this year as it's navigated through a very difficult and contentious reopening, full reopening of schools in the fall.
He's got one right here.
Oh, he's got one. That's right.
Hey, Albert.
Just to highlight some of the staff relations. Been an commitment to work collectively with collective bargaining groups to support this year's full reopening plan. Effectively communicated important and timely information regarding the positive case of COVID-19 in our schools. And that's been an area that maintained a high degree of transparency. That was something our staff insisted upon as we reopened last school year, and we've continued this year. I meet bi-weekly with BBOE, that's the teachers union leadership, to address the ongoing questions and concerns that need to be addressed as we continue to navigate, especially during the months of last year. Also meet regularly with the BCAS leadership to support our district's leadership team, because we've placed a lot of responsibility at the school level in order for our schools to remain open throughout the pandemic and to transition to opening. It was imperative that we had leadership that was supportive of teachers, students, and families.
Excuse me, BCAS.
Bridgeport Council of Administrators and Superintendents.
Okay, thank you.
The record reflects
Thank you.
Perez and Mr. Benahan to join the meeting.
I've continued my practice this year of sending weekly email correspondence to staff to recognize hard work, dedication, and students. Received over the past 3 years incredible feedback from staff. How well it's recognized for their dedication and hard work goes just in a simple email every Friday, our Happy Friday emails. This year, we focused our entire administrative council meetings. Those are monthly meetings with the leadership team throughout the district on high quality instruction and improvement science. Also created small principal group cohorts to improve support for building administration. These meetings allow for a more personalized space for sharing best practices and supporting the individual needs of principals at the building level. We also created for schools that have received school improvement grant funds because of some of the past feedback received from previous years in the school improvement grant recipients and the challenges met in meeting the plans, the goals, and objectives of the plans. I'm having these monthly meetings provided an extra layer of support for implementation of their plans and fiscal responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pardon this interruption. We would like to thank all the parents and students for the magnet program who showed up.
Place a priority on hiring procedures and practices that meets the goals of improving the diversity of our staff. Place an emphasis on creating leadership stability across the district. We implement a peer mentorship program for all administrators roles, not just new to administrations. Someone who goes from an assistant principal will also receive a mentor that they're hired to touch base with monthly and provide a monthly reflection on their support. Yes.
Is there communication going the other way, like a system for You talked about communication to the staff, regular emails and recognition. Is there any set formal thing for communication coming from staff to the superintendent's office?
Not a formalized method of communication, but, you know, there probably is more emails received directly to the superintendent from staff than higher administrations. I would never, I mean, it's an open line of communication. I don't feel as if there should be layers between myself and a teacher wants to send an email, they send an email.
Okay.
And they get a response in a timely fashion, I think. And we did provide a tremendous amount of professional development ongoing with the administration, Department for Educational Leadership. It's done in
Parents, guardians, students.
large group
Program.
administrative
I
meetings,
want to thank you
mentioned,
for coming out tonight.
and also in small group cohorts, new administrators, assistant principals.
Taught by the main lobby. At this time, once your tour is over, you're
We
free to.
continued our extensive work on diversity, equity, inclusion, Dr. Derek Gay this year. We've engaged in a professional network with UCLA Northeast to provide teaching and learning within the ESL bilingual program. Part of that partnership includes working with gen ed teachers as well, be more supportive of our English language learners in the gen ed classroom. Teacher residency program with Sacred Heart continues. That partnership will expand with today's student, tomorrow's teachers, since they have now been partnering now as well with Sacred Heart. So hopefully this will create a pipeline of our high school students to enter into the teaching profession. They're also engaging in partnerships with UConn, Southern Connecticut University to address teacher shortage in areas of special education and ESL bilingual. So those are new this year. Help continue our professional growth and talent development. Every special education teacher was required to participate in quality IEP training. That was a result of our small cohorts where we randomly pulled at building principals, pull IEPs, individualized education plans, present those with names blocked out so that we can get an understanding of what kind of individualized education plans. And we found that there was a need to get everyone trained. So we participated and partnered with the state of Connecticut Department of Education to embark on that endeavor. As I mentioned previously, we have done extensive work with the Department for Educational Leadership, and that began back in August in a 2-day retreat at Sacred Heart University. And that's how we begin our year this year. Our K-3 teachers receive professional development with the Hill for Literacy. It's been an ongoing process throughout the year, not only professional development, but coaching. That will be expanded next year. Sorry, that's just at 22, 23, grades 4 through 6. There's a focus on literacy in the district, and we're learning a lot on how that professional development coaching occurs and what's most effective. And that is going to be part of our rollout next year with mathematics in grades K to 8. We also included this year a professional development session on diversity, equity, inclusion for all clerical staff. It's the first touch point for most parents as the students entering the building. A lot of work has been done, especially since the return from the pandemic, to increase parent engagement. That's always been a priority, but I think it is in a greater need this year just because not only are our kids returning from a difficult time, I think all families as well, we've all been affected and impacted somehow by the COVID-19 pandemic. We understand that parent involvement helps extend teaching outside the classroom and creates a more positive experience for children and helps children perform better when they're in school. So that has been an emphasis. That's why I think it's important to just included in the back of the packet again, a lot of the efforts that were made this year to engage families. Introduced Parent Square, as everyone is aware, to improve communication and create a more personalized experience and two-way communication to the home. We opened the District Welcome Center here at Central High School as a one-stop location for parents new to Bridgeport from outside of the country to come in, be registered, oriented, receive school supplies. It's just been a much better experience than parents being bounced around from school to school, office to office. So the accessibility, the ease of transition for families that are new to the country has been, I think, extraordinary. And as you could see through the increase in the number of English language learners, we processed a lot of families and registered, welcomed them to Bridgeport through the Welcome Center. We created the parent leader team on Teams and a distribution list to send information out again to PAC PTSO presidents. Monthly roundtable events to share information and question and help answer questions and answers. Also held regular student roundtable discussions. That's one of the things that I find to be most insightful and getting feedback and information from our high school students. Provided monthly attendance support for families and information and strategies over social media, but also now critical information for Parent Square, which I think later on in the presentation you'll see paid dividends when you compare us to other large urban districts here in the state of Connecticut when it comes to chronic absenteeism. And obviously you're well aware of our LEAP program with the billboards, raise community awareness and signage on the side of buses.
Just a second.
Yes.
I just step back to staff development for a minute and talent development. Is there anything already in the district for retention of teachers and encouragement, their education or certifications? Anything exist in the district for that?
So the teachers that are participating and it's in the cross endorsement programs into the shortage areas that we created for this starting in the summer and into the fall. Those teachers in those shortage areas that do get cross endorsed, not only are we helping cover the expenses, but we will also give them a bump in step as long as they stay in the shortage area for a minimum period of time, whether it be 3 or 5 years based on which MOU that we negotiated with the teachers.
Those for those specific targeting.
For those specific, because those are the areas that we find the most difficulty retaining teachers and recruiting because they are shortage areas statewide. We've also now expanded our teacher leader program, which we think not only gives teachers an extra layer of support within the buildings, but also gives a stipend to the teacher leaders to increase their compensation. And also gives them a sense of connection to the schools as part of the support system for their colleagues. So
Is there,
it's kind of a pipeline into administration.
that's what I was asking. So is there anything that develops teachers into administrators?
The teacher leader
Teacher leader
program is reestablished.
Okay.
We had, I wouldn't say similar programs, but we had programs many years ago for aspiring administrators specifically. But I think this now with 200 teacher leaders for next year will cast a wide net of maybe teachers that may not have been thinking about an administrative career, but that could be a possibility.
Thank you.
Second, technological difficulties, please stand by.
Can we ask a question?
Sure.
Just Danny, when you talking in the beginning of special education training, what kind of training does special education staff that would take? Is coming from only from the state or coming from another place? Because someone said they take the training. Someone said they are ready, but really you really know someone, then they feel like I had to take the training again to be sure, they know what is with the special education training.
Well, this was specific to IEP writing, quality IEP writing, because we found that there's many instances where goals, objectives, strengths, weaknesses,
Brother Bear.
lack of data on what's missing on the document. So we wanted to hit the reset button. We went backwards this spring, and that's why the quality IEP training was offered to all the staff. There will be ongoing training on the CT SEDS. That's the new IEP platform that the entire state is transitioning to on July 1. As you know, we're going to embark on the special education review, which should reveal and provide us with a roadmap on what specifically we should be focusing on in the near future and then the more long-term goals.
Okay, thanks.
We have a district attendance team that meets every 3 weeks to review and analyze data. We have also developed a multi-tiered system of support to provide interventions for students identified at low attendance rate or high chronic absentee percentages. They look for trends in the data as well as improvements and focus areas. Call that satellite data, map data, and then more granular street data. We do utilize referrals to outside and community partners as part of our MTSS and SRBI process, and referrals to Youth Services Bureau. In the old days, we used to go with family with service needs. Thank God legislation did change, not referring kids to the court system based on attendance, trying to be more supportive and provide them with ways and strategies to overcome some of the barriers that we know cause children to be absent from school. I also highlighted here the new website design has been created to improve accessibility of information and resources to the Bridgeport Public School community. I think that becomes and develops over the summer and into the fall months. Going to find it to be much more helpful to parents and to students to access information. We work closely with the State Department of Ed on updates to support student attendance and engagement. We've been asked and we presented this year on a national webinar through Insight Policy Research in collaboration with attendance work. I mean, the work being done here in Bridgeport to support student attendance needs and engagement during post-pandemic. We have our own visiting model to support student and parent engagement. And then again, we share resources on social media platforms, Parent Square, Twitter. I mean, I think that our support system around attendance, and as you will see later in the presentation, has really provided students and families with opportunities that would normally not exist. And part of some of the artifacts and folders, community events, distributed over 400 coats during the superintendent coat drive, 600 meal kits, clothes, etc. Over 600 toys were given out during the superintendent's toy drive. And I think it was a critical component to the addition of our SEL coordinator this year, Lynn Stevens' position, to improve family awareness and engagement around social emotional learning. She was also critical in rolling out of Move This World, our new social emotional learning prep platform for teachers to access with their students in the class. And created opportunities to draw on community resources, connect school and community experiences. I think one of the major components of that was our collaboration as a board. and school district with the city to provide students and family with resources and extracurricular experiencing with our collaborative on the ARP ESSER funds. We work collectively with White House. I think that's an important component because of our ability to work closely. More kids are able to access our early reading success program last summer and this summer because they have an outlet, a free outlet to attend Lighthouse in the afternoon once the program ends, where there was a charge in previous years. In addition, we work closely with the Bridgeport Public Education Fund this year in increasing mentors and tutors for students. 60 hours of mentoring were provided each week, 40 hours of tutoring each week. 223 students from 7 Bridgeport high schools participating for academic achievement, career and college success of the MAX program. That's an important partnership. We also had partnerships with and mentors and tutors from 8 college universities in the area. One of the things that I'm most proud of after a little over a year of planning, our FAME Academy kicked off this past January. Provides students from all our high schools an opportunity to participate in a performing and visual arts after school program housed at Harding High School. Transportation is provided, bus transportation from the other schools. As a result of the work being done in FAME, we've been tapped by the Arthur Miller Foundation from New York City. They're going to be partnering that program as well as providing and training theater teachers right now at Bassick High School. Hopefully other schools will take and teachers will take advantage of that opportunity. RIASAP, we've expanded our work with RIASAP on restorative practice interventionists in our schools. And that came at a critical time because I think suspension programs this year from all our schools, which that data will be shared with you as we highlight that later on in the presentation. And as you're all aware, we engaged in an extensive partnership with Bridgeport Caribe youth leaders, providing students with tutoring, mentoring, extracurricular athletic programs, but also college career readiness programs. Today, they had the tutor luncheon. We had over 70 tutors participate this year and impacted classrooms across the district. So there was some concern when the School Volunteer Association was dismantled. However, partnership with Caribe youth leaders and their ability to take the tutoring program and expand it has been tremendous. And BCAT, the division of RIASAP, has really provided an extensive amount of training and professional development around restorative practices to new staff. All new staff members receive it, as well as staff members for follow-up training. So preparing for all new teachers and staff members who are hired this summer, they will be trained in restorative practices and circles prior to the start of the school year. Some of our other community partners that we engage in are Youth Services Bureau, the Workplace, LifeBridge, and Child Guidance. Mostly a supportive and collaborative manner with DCF, not in a fearful and adversarial role. So they can provide training and support to our staff annually, so they are aware of what to look for in students that may be experiencing neglect at home. Our mission is grounded in the principle of continuous improvement and improvement science. As I mentioned earlier, our work this year with the Partners for Educational Leadership has been grounded in and will continue in constant improvement throughout the district. Administrators work carefully and creatively with each member of their staff to enhance student progress and achievement. using the data that is collected throughout the school year on various assessments. And as mentioned previously, regular meetings are held with principal focus groups to discuss leadership, continuous improvements efforts, as well as provide opportunities for feedback. These are not meant to be gotcha meetings. These are really spaces where administrators can come, share best practices, work on areas of improvement, and be able to talk freely. I think that's an important component to everyone's professional growth and development. We're going to have successful leadership.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I understand, you're presenting a picture of the district and its achievements, and that's what we need. But I also, at least for me, I don't know if you can do it tonight, if it's too on the spur of the moment, but I'd like to know kind of your involvement in some of these things. But all this stuff is the people you oversee, obviously. But, it would help me to know which of these initiatives really you took ownership of, or you were a big part of starting, if there are any like that. Because there's so many things here, it's kind of becoming a blur for me.
Okay, so
I'm
good
just,
question. I wouldn't be highlighting them if I wasn't instrumental in the development or the creation of these.
stuff.
Correct.
It's a big district. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that need to happen. We're trying to take it, like I said, a snapshot of the year. So to give you an example, so for years, I participated in the monthly admin council meetings. There were monthly meetings that were held. There was no continuity. It was different topics, different agenda items every month. There was no clear focus or vision for what that would look like. So like I said, we kicked off here with a retreat, 2-day retreat at Sacred Heart. I was going to focus professional development and on high quality instruction, HQI, and improvement science with the administration. That's been the focus the entire year. That's why I'm highlighting things that are a reflection of the leadership that I've provided here in the district.
Okay.
Not things that just came out of nowhere.
Right. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah.
So, for example, our technology team, there wasn't a technology team prior to last year. So we have a technology team that was created. It continues to meet bi-weekly. Everything is filtered through the technology team when it comes to online platforms, programs. We had, I guess you can call it almost a free-for-all, different schools utilizing different programs, difficult to manage, difficult to roster, no clear way of assessing if programs were effective or not. So if you are a department head and you want to bring on a digital platform to support student learning, you would have to go through the technology team. And you would have to showcase how it's going to be implemented, what impact that'll have on other programs, what's the rostering like, how much data management or the IT department will have to support it. So all these things are just a layer of accountability, whereas you're not offering this platform. Ms. Baptiste Perez is not offering this, and there's no clear consistency across the district.
See, that's helpful because just in reading that bullet point, I wouldn't have known that was just created this year.
Last year.
Yeah. So thank you.
As you know, we're building our data warehouse. That is in the process. So we can have a centralized platform to access data for teachers, for families, for administrators, different data that will help drive decision-making. Hopefully cause some healthy competition so that we can see what best practices have the greatest impact on student achievement. Yes, sir.
Whatever data that you are warehousing, are there, do you have methods to analyze that data? Do you have data analytics methods that people?
That's what the data warehouse has.
That's what it has.
So whatever data, we're building the platform. PJ and data management is building the platform so that,
Okay,
and then from there, we can continue to build based on what principals may want, teachers may want, be able to access, help drive decision-making at the building level or even at the classroom.
okay, that's important.
Baptiste Perez?
To what extent was the technology team creation more spawn out of the pandemic and the need for like hybrid learning? And
It was created right before the pandemic because of the need to have consistency across the district in the number of programs that were being supported, and the inconsistency of data that was being collected. So it made it extremely difficult for the IT department to be able to manage roster programs, number one, that weren't licensed. Security issues, for example, rather than, to have more of a personalized approach to communication. A lot of schools and teachers just went on a free subscription to Classroom Dojo, for example. Well, that's not a secure method of communication. Rostering was definitely on the IT department, so having Parent Square now, all those other options are no longer viable. Most of that work began pre-pandemic. The academic support team spawned out of the need to provide additional support to teachers, students, and families because of the pivot to remote learning.
I'm going to say something else. I didn't know I was going to say so much tonight. So since there are so many things on here and you're going to go through them,
I'm not.
I know you're
I'm going to skip ahead.
right. I know you've been skipping some things already. Like that conversation we just had with Ms. Baptiste Perez's question, Mr. Member, I think that kind of stuff is more helpful for me. Otherwise it becomes droning on and I would just read it myself. So
Exactly.
if you could do those types of things with some of the bullet points, that would be helpful.
Sure. So if we want to get to some of the academic highlights, I think might be helpful. So our K-8 DIBELS results showed that every grade level, with the exception of grade 7, increased from beginning to end of the year. Be able to graph that for you in a second. There were significant increases in K-2 as a result of our work for the Hill for Literacy. There is a video that you can, a link that's in your narrative component of the packet. Video to the Hill for Literacy. HMH math end of the year showed every grade level increase from beginning to end of the year. There were significant increases in grades 2 to 4. There was a 44% increase in grade 2, 33 in grade 3, and 28% in grade 4.
Mr. Testani, what is a DIBELS?
DIBELS is our literacy assessment tool.
Next time, please, with these acronyms, you have to tell us what they are.
Spell it out.
Spell it out, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I know EOY is end of year.
So this is the graph table that will show you the increase in assessment. Beginning, middle, and end of the year. You can see the significant increases. K, 1, 2, and then again in grade 8, which was encouraging.
It's huge.
Yep.
Sounds good.
To work with the Hill for Literacy, not only the professional development, but also the coaching has had a major impact on student achievement. And that's why we're increasing and bumping it up to grades 4 through 6 next year, that work. And this will give you some of the HMH growth measure assessment results from beginning to end of the year. The assessments given in grades 2 through 8. So you can see a large jump in grade 2 and the growth measure, and significant jumps in other grade levels. It tends to slow down a little bit in grade 7 and 8, but yet there still is growth that's being achieved, which is a positive.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So these are huge numbers, so I wonder, is part of that because the starting point was lower than normal?
Well, it could be. It's also a new math program that we've implemented within 2 Math. It's the second year in some grade levels as well. It's also getting everyone back to in-person learning, but also we're assessing more students as well as compared to years previously. But this is all good data, and
Yeah.
we'll have even more data to continue when we get into year 3 next year of Into Math. But it's also helping us drive some of our decision-making and how instruction is going to be impacted in grade 7 and 8, and also in grade 9 next year. We're bringing back pre-algebra for students that require some support in grade 9 that we haven't had in probably.
So it's just gone from general math to algebra, and
That just when 9th grade, everyone was placed into algebra.
everyone was algebra. Oh,
So that change is going to be implemented next year to help students that need a little bit more remediation.
I have a question. This goes back to Dibbles, but is also applicable to HMH. As it's 3 parts. What was the district goal with growth? Knowing that we were coming in this school year with the COVID learning loss, what was the goal that beginning of year, by the end of the year, we were striving for this result? Was that goal met? And what percentage of students are on actual grade level? So I see the growth and I know the growth is important, but still the bar is you should be on kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade level by end of year. So what was the district's goal? Was it presented maybe before I joined the board, like an earlier teaching and learning committee? Was it met? And the percentage of students on grade level?
Well, there's no way prior to the start of the school year to really have an indication of where all our students would be after many were not in school for almost 2 years. It's really just about growth. And that's, we had an informal conversation prior to the meeting starting. It's hard to say we're going to hit this percentage for the year for a number of reasons. One being the transient population. Number 2, students in and out of the district. It's really about improving and showing growth across grade bands. So that will include all students, not just students that may be at the lower end of achievement, in the middle or at the end. This is really about all kids growing. I think they're just, we have some baseline information for next school year. If we can capture the same matched pairs of students and not just look at overall grade level. So I think those are important pieces to start to tease, and we'll do that more. But I think this year was really about getting a baseline of where all our kids were and trying to show growth throughout the school year.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm saving most of my questions to the end, but since we're on the subject, this is one of my questions to piggyback on Ms. Baptiste Perez. Now, it's definitely the starting point's a very good data point, but also comparatively, how does our growth compare to our DERG?
I wouldn't have the access to that information. I don't know what formative assessments, or if those other districts use Dibbles, they could use, iReady, they can use other different forms of assessment. So,
because these numbers standing alone to me, they're just a static point in time. It shows really if, for instance, Hartford is like 5% less and all other districts are 5% less, that'll be telling that we exceeded over everybody else and over our peers. And if we're 5% less, it'll show me we need to catch up to other districts. I mean, we got the data points for comparative with
different kids. So we're not comparing apples to apples.
Then why did we include it as part of the absentee? Because absentee, we far exceed the other districts, and it's actually shown with a nice little park.
Because any kid can attend school. you're legally responsible to and mandated to attend school. Now, what happens as a result of, I mean, there's too many variables to say that. I mean, I can call Hartford and New Haven, ask them to share their data if they're willing to do that, but I don't know what assessment tool they use.
What data do we have inside the ed site? Compare us to district to district.
SBAC data.
Can we get that data to compare?
SBAC was just, they haven't released all the final results from this year's testing. And you're not going to, there was no testing in 2020, and last year's testing was based on a smaller number of kids. But I'm not going to be responsible for what New Haven and Hartford children did. And at this point, we're just trying to show growth across the district. And I think that's all you can ask for at this point. I think any year, that's all you can ask for. Kids are growing from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Absolutely, and that should be a given in any particular year. The kid that comes in kindergarten not knowing his ABC should, if you do the basics, should know the ABCs at the end, and it shows no actual.
Correct.
You get what I'm saying?
And that's why teachers get evaluated based on their SLOs and from the administrative end. But I think from a district perspective, it's putting the tools in and the programs in place so that we can make sure that administrators, teachers, everyone has the tools to be successful in educating our kids. And I think that's what we have to, and if that's the measure, growth, then that's what we're seeing.
That's all I got for now. All the rest for now.
I see the importance of growth, definitely. Like if John is in 3rd grade and he's on a kindergarten level and he grows, and every year he's no longer 2 grades behind. But the fact of the matter is he's behind. And is he just moving up in grade level without actually attaining grade level? But every year there's growth. It's a little bit convoluted in growth if he never reaches the level that he needs to be at. So it's like saying, well, there was growth. I mean, Bobby was in high school and he was on a 5th grade reading level. He graduated on an 8th grade reading level. Like there was growth, but the importance of actually making the attainable levels for a particular group is something that I do want to see, because that is measuring growth. Yes, awesome. And also reaching the grade level. So that way it is actual comparables to other districts. Because I've mentioned this in teaching and learning is if a student from here was to go to a different district, they should be able to go to any district and succeed and not fall further behind. So not having that data point with the percentage actually at level, even though I see the growth, I can also see how long-term in the end, they never reach grade level.
But it does show you the end of the year in kindergarten, 35% of the kids were at or above grade level.
Yeah, I just want to see it for like all grades. That's all.
Questions? No, okay. So this gives you an indication, last year to this year, as you can see from the Dimples assessment. Cohort data, the increase in the percentage, as you can go on a diagonal, so you'll see kindergartners who tested last year and the kindergartners this year, there was a 26% increase. 10% increase first to second, 7 from second to third, and 6% from third.
That's.
Yeah.
And then this is the HMH results for the students on the growth measure. At grade level equivalency from the beginning of the year, middle of the year. So as you can see, there was 47% of our students at the beginning of the year that were 2 years below grade level or more. We reduced that by 16% by the end of the year. Number of students that were 1 year or greater, so 1 to 2 years below grade level at the beginning of the year, we reduced that from 30 to 23%. The approaching grade level increased from 18 to 25%. The on grade level went from 4 to 13%, and the above went up from 1 to 8%.
What grades are those?
That's the entire grades 2 to 8.
2 to 8.
It's impressive.
And this gives you more of a grade levels. So the growth summary does show little over 50% in that summary. The decrease in students, 46% to 24%, I think is also noted here.
So the only grade level that went down was 7%? 1%.
The students that we didn't see the overall growth. And grade 8 participated in the PSAT 8-9 for the first time in over 7 years. We did that this year. I thought it was important data to collect as students are getting prepared to go to high school. 22 schools participated. Those are the schools that have 8th grades. And 10 or 45% state average overall score. Your comparison, the 22 perform at or above the state average in reading evidence and evidence-based reading. 9 of the 22 or 41% of schools performed over the state average in math. So we're going to continue to offer the PSA grades 8, 9, and 10. Our partnership with Khan Academy to support student growth and achievement seems to be paying off. What we utilized Khan not only at the high school level, but we've dropped it down to our middle school level. We're also expanding the use of Reading Plus to grades 7 and 8.
So PSAT, is it the same PSAT that high school students take, or is it a different one?
It's the test that's created for grade 8 and 9.
And what's the combined total that it could have?
So as you can see, the district scored a 735. The state average was 753.
And what's the maximum?
I believe it's at the same scale score of 1600.
1600.
But it's the same test.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I got a quick question before we go too far. The last slide, HMH math is K through 8, correct?
2 to 8.
2 to 8, okay. So that'll account for the next question, which was the 8,887. That seems a little low. So we're missing grades. Okay, thank you.
We're implementing next year. We looked at, it's kind of the sister assessment to Dibbles. It's called Acadience for grades K1 math. It's not a digital platform. We don't, we know it's clunky and difficult for kids in those early grades to take a digital assessment. So like Dibbles, it's an oral assessment. And as you can see here, the district slightly improved on the average total score in math on the SAT, while the state decreased by 17 points. Bridgeport increased by 6. Our evidence-based reading and writing increased by 7 percentage points. The state decreased by 8. Math, we slightly dropped by 1 point. State decreased by 9. We do think that the introduction of pre-algebra in the high school program of studies will be helpful in providing students with a better foundation and better preparation to take the PSAT, SAT later on in high school careers.
Statista,
Yes, sir.
just to let you know, we at UB also use Khan Academy videos in our presentations. Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah, excellent. And one of the schools that saw the greatest growth was Central High School. Saw a significant, and they're heavily involved in the utilization of Khan Academy. Our lost link scores saw a change, number of students that, and these are our English language learners. Lost links is the gold standard of assessment when it comes to language acquisition skills. Again, it's difficult based on the transience of the population, when students entered, how much exposure they got to the support in the classroom. We're hoping, and I think, this was year one in our pre-K program of Footsteps to Brilliance, to giving all our pre-K students access literacy. As you can see, 53,100 total number of books were read since December. Over 22 million, almost 23 million words were read, and over almost 10,000 hours spent on literacy that would never have occurred prior to the another program. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question going back to the previous slide, but why do we only have Arrow, Bassick, Central, and Harvard? Is there a reason why BMA, IT wasn't included? It was just not available at this time? So I'm looking at SAT school day comparison. The 2020.
I'm sorry, that could have been an error on the chart, so I'll double check that. Because there was all the schools that were listed, maybe in the transfer of data, it fell off the chart. I apologize for that. I'll send you an electronic copy with an updated version. Some other noteworthy, I think, data points that are chronic absenteeism. This is data that's readily available and that were provided. So that's why this was included, Mr. Sokolovic. That's why the sources, Connecticut State Department of Ed, we get this information periodically. So our last report was in April, and as you can see, the comparison, Bridgeport continues to make strides in decreasing the chronic absentee rate of students post-pandemic or during, still in the pandemic, compared to the other districts. If I had to guess, that will have an impact on academic achievement when you're approaching or exceeding 50 to 60. As you can see, according to the state, has flattened off until June. We continue to see a decrease from April to June. The numbers for Hartford and New Haven were not readily available at this point. But we did receive the state number and the district number. I think one of our greatest accomplishments, we continue to be a leader. Our English language learner chronic absentee rate significantly lower than the state average. So we do a great job in engaging our students and families, our English language learner students and families into our school communities. That's, I think, a good highlight to address. And then incredibly important is the data here. As you can see, in 18-19, before the pandemic, we had 2,810 out-of-school suspensions, 3,298 in-school suspensions. 1920, we were abruptly closed, so those numbers go through March 12th. Again, we were at 1818, but still we started to see a reduction based on the emphasis placed in the monitoring the numbers. In year one of my superintendents, we still started to see come down in in-school suspension, but not to the satisfaction of what I'd like to see. This year, as I mentioned earlier, we rid the district of in-school suspension officers, and we transformed to restorative practice interventionists, those positions, which everyone thought we would see a huge increase in out-of-school suspension. That number is way down compared to the pre-pandemic number, and it had no influence on that increase. So there's over 2,000 incidents that you would normally get, or pre-pandemic closer to 3,300 students that would be removed from classes and the day in school suspension. I think that is a tremendous accomplishment. And I will stop there. As I said, these are just highlights. There's more that is part of not only the PowerPoint, but also the narrative that is.
So does anyone have any other questions now?
Okay, so I have,
No, you didn't have.
Mr. Testani, I know I read everything and it's fine presentation. And thank you for your presentation, and I will go to the point because I'm more talk that read. And you know, my big point is about student and family, you know, and you know, everything about leaders, stuff like that. When we spoke early, and I'm reading all your documents, when I talk about PAC and PTSO and round table and all this information, I know when they do round table, when they bring information, the two ladies, Ms. Rocha and Ms. Lynn, I know they bring information for whoever was there, parents and leaders. But I know more the PAC and PT, so they like to do more workshops, deal more with parents, what they can do with the parents. Because whatever, finally. Because when whatever information they bring, okay, they bring the information so people they can read it or you want to enjoy. They want to do what they can do more with the parents. So parents, they can come to the school. Other thing is they need more your staff, your administrators, they need to a little more how to welcome our parents in the school. I know we got policy and we got protocol, stuff like that, but sometimes, like I always say, when the cat is not, of course, mouse is disappear. But when the cat is not, forget it. What does mean? When you show up and they always inform you, they tell you, everything is okay, everything is fine. But you have to understand when parents come to you and talk to you and tell you, oh, this is what's going on in my school, why this happened in the school. And then you need investigation, you need to find out, they give another story. You have to understand that without parents, we're not gonna be here. We are elected because parents vote for us. You know, I'm not elected because you vote for me or one of the board members vote for me or the city. It was because of the parent. We have to listen more to the parent. We need to give it more work from the parents when it's about round table, like that's a good idea, but we need to do more with the ladies. And I spoke to with them, what kind of work, because we can give it to them so they can bring it to the school. Because this year they were talking about, and that's why they don't come. Because when I talk to them, and you know, I will call one of each of them, they say, oh, whatever information I have is not for, it's for give it to them, but I want to do something with my parents. So I just want to bring that to you, you know, for now. So, thank you.
I can include that in the feedback and the evaluation of those individuals that they should look to. We are looking at bringing some outside entities to help provide some more training for family leaders.
And especially when you say, and you send that email that lead the PAC and PTSO do the job. And this year it was a hard time because I spoke to you and I showed you and I told you who was it. And you know, don't let the leaders do the job. Don't close the door. Don't tell them what to do or how to spend or who you can speak. You know, they know what to do. You know, so you really know we spoke about that. So I hope this year when they come, they understand. And especially, I get upset when you send an email and they don't follow your rule. They don't follow with your email. And that's what I said, okay, if they don't respect your email, you said, hey, leak the packet PTA, so do the job. You also let them know, they will tell you the date, and they ignore your email. I get upset because you still, and you will, and you'll be with us as a superintendent of Bridgeport School. So they need to respect that. That's why sometimes I get upset and I come to you, like, saying, can you figure out what's going on here? So I just want to say that. That's it for now.
Anyone else? Sullivan?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. It's a bit of a constructive criticism. How long ago was this completed?
How long ago was what?
You have this packet together?
What?
This packet together, because I'm concerned a lot of times the board, we have information dropped on us just prior to the meeting, and it would be better for us to have time to, because right now we're scrambling to come up with questions and information is just before us. And if we had more appropriate time with any document, especially sizable documents, to be put in ahead of time, so we could actually ask the appropriate questions, because I'm sure there's going to be questions after this that I didn't think of because I didn't have a
I'm
chance.
gonna reconvene.
Right, okay.
Not it.
Right.
So there'll be opportunity for more questions. I don't know when did you finish this? I was just told he would have it by the 21st.
Yesterday,
So
yesterday, I was,
So we're going to have another opportunity to delve into this and then come back and ask Mr. Testani questions before we score? Okay.
Well, I thought
what we did
that,
last time.
I thought we were gonna take it home, do our own scoring, then come together just as a. board.
Right, yeah, but
That's it.
at this point, I need some additional data points to score, which I did not know prior to receiving this big packet. That's basically the
I
point.
think we should use that week to get that information.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And some of the information I'd be looking for would be some of my questions, so I could just give you. As far as staff relations, and you mentioned nothing about evaluations at principals.
on my job. The executive directors,
Have you're responsible for your executive director's work output? Have they evaluated all the principals?
they're not completed. The deadline hasn't come yet.
How many are still outstanding?
The deadline hasn't come, so I don't know where they are. They're finalizing those last evaluated components by June 30th.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did find out, though, I'd like to know when the evaluations are expected to be completed,
June 30th.
June 30th?
And can we see them when they're completed?
Be what?
Can we see them with, I guess, redacted information of the names or whatever have you, just to ensure they were done? Because I'm a data guy, because it is part of, if you go on to community relations, personnel management is effective in evaluating staff and holding staff accountable. Now, we can't tell if you're effective unless we have that data point. And whether it's your responsibility or the responsibility of the people under you, it shoots back up to you because it's your responsibility and part of your evaluation.
Okay.
So I think that's a good data point to have.
That's fair.
And also, you mentioned principal meetings and focus groups. What were some of the focus groups and how many times did you meet?
Principal meetings, we met monthly in cohorts.
And what kind of subjects were subjected to the focus?
Special education, chronic absenteeism, planning for the upcoming school year, for next school year, a variety of topics. You know, there was open discussions.
And as far as climate, personnel climate, staff climate, school climate, do we have any data to back that up? School climate surveys and all that?
We have been gathering the school climate surveys, correct?
Can we get access to that data as well? That's all the data points I'm requesting.
You were taping this whole thing? Somebody's got to.
That's all I got now. That's all I need to know. Go for.
You do recognize that the school climate and those surveys utilized in principal.
Well, it'll also be telling as far as staff relations, because it should be part of the evaluation, because if they don't have the school climate surveys involved, it should be reflected in their evaluation.
I'm saying it's part of the principal's evaluation.
Right.
Correct.
And I would just like to see that data to see how our
So then
overall school climates are.
end of the year data, so that can be utilized for next school year to show improvement.
So can I see last year's?
Yeah. I mean, we can get you the data. I don't know how that's relevant to
You just said I gotta use
this.
this year's for next year's. So apparently I should be
Principal.
last year's for this year's.
Mr. Sokolovic, with all due respect, that's part of the principal's evaluation, not the superintendent's evaluation. If there's, and the student, the surveys, the data is pretty good. Initial look that's been provided, but it also has to be unpacked, and it also has to be by the responses. If there's a low response, parents that responded to the survey, it's not really indicative of the intent. And to look at it more closely, if only 10 parents at Park City Magnet, for example, responded,
I'm just asking because
how well are we going to be able to assess from that?
Roman numeral 4, educational leadership, dedication to fostering connections with all students. And I think that's something that will be captured.
Providing the systems and the programs and the tools in place. And I think we've highlighted that. And if you go through the remainder of the packet, I try to explain and give a narrative about that.
Narratives and stories are one thing, but data is another thing.
I gave you data. I'm giving you the highlights of where the district has shown growth and improvement.
But as far as
I
connections with all students, part of the school climate survey is, do you feel connected to school? Do you have an adult that you feel you can connect with in the school? And that,
okay, so if that data is good, then we're okay.
I like to make my decisions based on
Okay, so
based.
if the data, one area at one school is not okay, that's reflective of my leadership.
So just the overall data, we should have data that we could easily pull up on these.
Data, if you wanted specific data, that should have been asked for in advance. You're asking for what's included. You want to digest this in advance. I give you the highlights that shows the district post-pandemic has shown tremendous growth in improvement. That's, then you want to.
I want to see every point.
So I would suggest, this is a lot of stuff to be thrown at us. If as we go through it, there's follow-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Send an email and ask, and he will provide it to all of us.
Generally,
I mean, maybe something in here that, I'm missing or whatever. And as you comb through it in a little greater detail, he may cite something in some of these narratives. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen any of it.
right.
But if it's not there, I think it's appropriate to just send an email. Hey, I saw this. It begs the question, where does this come from? Can you send some more detailed information?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And just in general, when there's something that will have a data point that's relatable to the evaluative line, I think we should have a piece of data to back it up. That's just me. That's all the questions I have.
Anyone else?
Yes, I just have a question. And it may have been in here or may have been something you skipped over. I don't know. But one of the ones that we're evaluating you on is your activity in the community as a leader, a public education leader. Like what roles are you taking or do you take in the community outside of being superintendent of our district as a leader in the community? Or even as a superintendent, but what?
Well, everything
Right.
operates, obviously,
Right.
you don't separate the two. sit on the board of the Bridgeport Public Education Fund, sit on the board of the Fields of Dreams Foundation. Didn't mention, obviously, the district was recognized a couple of weeks ago, receiving an award for advocacy and support of the students here in Bridgeport. I mean, I also included the artifacts, toy drives, coat drive. This never existed prior. And he stepped out of the room, but I just want to make the point that I hope that the process is being looked at and conducted fairly, because I don't recall the superintendent evaluations prior to my tenure being like this, to be honest with you. So I just hope we're conducting this in a fair and process, because if not, I think there's a problem there. And I think that begs to be said, because we're not being compared, and I'm not taking sitting here saying, are we better than Hartford? Are we better than New Haven? Are we better than Waterbury? If that's the case, then if that's the measure that we want to live up to, I'm going to agree with Ms. Baptiste Perez. That's not good enough. And that's what we're striving for. We're striving for better. And if we can get better every year and kids can continue to grow and learn, that I think is a huge accomplishment, especially in a district where there are many more challenges than others have to encounter as kids growing up in an urban setting. We are not only battling educational barriers and challenges, we're also battling socioeconomic things that are beyond the control of the schoolhouse. And then if we can't ignore that.
Anyone else?
Question. I'm gonna start with the data points so I could fully digest and go through this that we asked for. Do you think it's gonna be feasible to get answers to questions before the next meeting? I mean, there were a few things I asked, and like the SAT scores for the remaining schools, but I'm not sure if there grabbed the other questions for other board members. But is it feasible? Like, is that enough time to grab everything? Like, maybe the SATs were just a technical issue.
If you have some questions, just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to get you as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Well, let me.
And I will give the answers to the questions to everyone.
Yeah.
So if Ms. Baptiste Perez sends me an email with a question, I will copy the question with the response and I'll send it to everyone.
But it shouldn't be, we don't want to inundate you with these questions. I don't think it's fair. There are specific questions, and I think they should be asked. Ms. Baptiste Perez, you could ask your question, but I don't think we should ask you, Mike, what do you think about Hartford? I mean, do you think Hartford's going to be better than us next year again?
Hartford has 50 different,
Let's just make
50 more. I know, but to your point, Hartford has 50 more administrators. They have a department, a math department. They have you also have to put into context the resources that we have, or the lack thereof, here in Bridgeport. And also, we talk about advocacy. We talk about all of that. We all saw firsthand. We made ourselves available to go out, to try to educate the public, to be more proactive in advocating for resources. No one came. Is that a reflection of me? Is it a reflection of the finance committee? Absolutely not.
So hang. I think Mr. Macarone's question was not about Hartford and how we compare. He's talking about, he doesn't want, 100 questions coming at you from every different direction.
I get you.
He just wants some kind of a structure.
Yeah.
Or an agreement that, maybe there's a deadline for questions, something like that we all agree to, so that there is time for you to get the responses out and for people to digest the answers before we next come here. So I think the first question is, how much time do we need to come up with our initial reviews before we come back here again. You want to come back here in a week? Is that enough time? Generally?
Well, aren't we waiting for the principal evaluations as well? And that's not done till the 30th?
Principal evaluations are going to be done, and if they're not done, that means I have to hold the executive directors accountable for that. So, I mean, that's going to, if I don't hold them accountable, yeah, then you should go back and amend the score on that area. But if that's the case, we have to wait, and then they have to submit them. We'll get into July if you want to. It's up to you at that point.
I don't feel it's necessary. What for violations before we evaluate them?
Yes.
Again, do we want
I'm sorry,
to come back here in a week?
Just make it a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, please.
1 week from today is a Tuesday.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Monday's not good for me.
Mr. Chair, could you please clarify what will we be?
Okay, so here's what, so if
Yeah, thank you.
we say we're going to come back here on the 28th, Tuesday, the 28th, with our initial reviews to then talk about them. I would ask that everybody give me their numeric review by the end of the day on Monday. I'll put them in a spreadsheet like I did last year, so everybody can see how everybody scored. And then we'll come back here, we'll see how everybody scored, and we'll have a conversation about why you scored the way you did versus why Joe scored the way he did. And any follow-up information will be a part of that. And so if we say, you know, if we're going to come back here on Tuesday, do you want to say Friday is the deadline for questions to email them? Or Thursday?
That sounds good.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So that getting together, Mr. Testani won't be there for that, correct? That's just us. My understanding was we were coming together as a board. Okay.
Yeah. That's why you're emailing him questions in advance.
Right.
But there's a cutoff. So
For
there's,
Friday.
he's not going to get at the 11th hour, you know, a buttload of questions. Does that generally sound? And then we come back here in a week, we finalize it, and then at some subsequent meeting, we'll present it to him.
So we'll give you our numerical scores this Friday,
No,
By the end of the day, Monday.
or by the end of the day, Monday.
Friday- Friday's Mike's questions.
Oh, okay,
Friday's the deadline to send him questions.
gotcha.
So send me your numerical scores by the end of the day, Monday. I'll put them in a little table that just has every board member and then every category and all the numericals. You'll have an average and everybody will get that. And then that can be part of the discussion of why people scored the way they scored, why someone was high or low or whatever.
Question.
Mhm.
As the evaluation that we're submitting.
Excuse me, but I can't hear you down there.
I'll repeat it for you.
Thank you.
What's your question?
Is the evaluation going to be submitted in paper form or electronically?
You can email it to me if you want, or you can fill it out in hard copy. I'll email it to everyone just so you have it, if that's your preference. And everybody already has a hard copy. But in preparation for next week, all I need is your numerical scores. So you could just send me an email, category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, score.
So
Or you could call me.
we don't have to give you any written comments.
No.
Follow-up question to that. So for the final compilation,
Mhm.
will that have all the written comments?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something we'll email you after.
Yeah, when that's all done, because
Okay.
when we finalize next week, that's where you'll finalize your comments.
Okay.
Because, you know, Albert may say something that you never thought of. So that will trigger something, you'll revise your comments.
That's great.
Okay? All right, so that's how it'll be. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, Mr. Chair, I want to say something. I feel like this process is to be long, and I see Mr. Stani feel stressed to be taking too long. It's a process, the policy, stuff like that. I can say this, and this is coming from me, not from nobody. I know when we worked for you, Mr. Destani, to be superintendent of school, you was not certified yet. We did it, we vote, because we trust you. We trust you. And then after that, you certified, you did your classes and everything. And then after that, there come a big issue, the pandemic. And you did an amazing job, because other ones, they will disappear. And I know you're here because you want to be with us. I know you're here because you care. You care about students, you care about parents, you want the best for Bridgeport. I know Bridgeport before Bridgeport School was a mess. You came and you changed a lot. It was not easy. It was hard. You worked very hard to do it. No, but especially I know you want to have our night vote, and I hope you got it. Because I know the short time you're here, you do an amazing job. And I will say, whatever I go, I say, yes, we got the up and down. That's normal because we are not perfect. Nobody here is perfect. Only God. Do the best we can. And I know you do the best you can here. So the only thing I can say, be patient and we try to do the best we can. And we try to follow the rules and the policy the way it is. Because I know you're not going nowhere. It's the only thing I can say.
Great,
Right?
Albert.
Amen.
Great, Albert.
That's the only thing I want to say.
Thank you, Albert.
You're welcome.
You have any questions about any of this, Ms. Brown, or any comments? Are you muted?
No
Right.
comment.
Okay. So you heard all of this and you're in agreement? This is the path going
Yes, I am.
forward? Okay. All right, so send the appropriate notifications out and follow up, kind of summarizing all of this. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
By Mr. Benahan, second by Ms. Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. The time is 8:05 PM.
Listen about the school.